Okay, welcome. Lovely to be with you all. Holger, hello, and Ali. Hi, Ali. Rochelle, Frank. Hi, Chris. And Karen, George, Holly. So welcome the totality of your experience. Meaning no need to make any distinctions right now. Sensation may appear to you, a bodily sensation. A thought. An image. They appear effortlessly. There is no personal will. And they appear in the same space. Borderless awareness. Nothing that you need to do. Awareness is seamless. Meaning that it is not divided in part of that which appears is me, and part of that which appears is not me. Everything that appears to you appears equally. It appears equally as awareness. It's the same awareness which perceives a sensation of your feet on the ground and perceives the sound of traffic. The same space, the same presence, which perceives hearing these words and perceives a sensation of hunger, or perceives the oak tree in the yard. Given everything that you perceive, all perceptions, all sensations, and all thoughts appear equally in the same space. It is a personal choice to say that the perceptions of the body is me, and the perception of the oak tree is not me. Because the oak tree is an equal appearance to the appearance of your body. When you look at your hand, when you look at the oak tree, they're both equal perceptions. When you look at the sensation of your back against the couch, the memory of your grandparents, both the sensation of your back against the couch and the memory of your parents are equal appearances. They appear in the same aware space. And yet we say, I am the body, but I am not the image of my grandparents. I am not the image of New York City that appears to me. When you take a closer look, you will find that there are, in fact, no actual divisions or separations, and that the divisions and separations are purely conceptual. We choose separation. And having chosen it, we experience it and feel it and live it. We separate ourselves as a person, a man, a woman. The senses of the body are already programmed to distinguish between a river and a mountain, between a lion and a cat, between a fruit that's edible and that which is not edible. The body is already programmed to navigate in the world. We learn not to put our hand in the fire, not to jump in the pool if we don't know how to swim. But these distinctions at the body-mind level do not refer to awareness. Awareness, consciousness. Perceive perceptions, sensations, thoughts in the same space of awareness equally. You do not need to define yourself as a certain set of perceptions or a certain set of sensations. In order to function in the world, it is actually an impediment to harmonious functioning. This conceptual separation between me and not me is felt at the body level as a sense of limitation, isolation, powerlessness, vulnerability. Not the vulnerability of the body in front of a lion, but the vulnerability of I, of the self, of consciousness, which is not vulnerable. So I am presence, awareness. I am the wind. I am the sunshine. I am the sound of traffic. I am the butterfly. I am the hum of the airplane. I am the breath. I am the cosmos. I am borderless awareness. I am I. I am thou. I am it. I am that. And I am I. I am not a thing. Things appear out of I to I, within I, as I. Thus, not being a thing, everything is I. I am the creator and the perceiver, not a created object, not a form, not a limited body-mind. I am not this nor that, and yet this and that are my very self. Nothing is outside of myself. Myself is not within anything. The body appears to me. The mountains appear to me. The wind appears to me. The sound of this voice appears to me. I do not appear, but without I, nothing appears. Thus, appearance is I and relies on I, depends on I, is inherent to I, does not have a reality of its own outside of I. I refers to being. Being is aware that it is, aware of its creation, creative potential. there is only one being, one reality, unopposed by some other reality. Complete freedom. Nothing lacking to the reality of being. Nothing that is being sought after. So whatever questions you would like to explore, please make sure to unmute your mic, and you're welcome to turn on your video if you like. Nice to see you. So any questions?
Hello, Magdi.
Hello, George.
Yes, I have a question. You said before that the perception of sensations and their perception of an oak tree are equal appearances. It seems to me, I want to ask you about this, whether it is useful to make a very sharp distinction between those two. That is, when we perceive sensations, those are direct perceptions. Perceiving an oak tree is conceptual. We make a distinction, oak tree. Or to say it another way, a 3-month-old baby can perceive hunger, can perceive pain, but a 3-month-old baby can't perceive an oak tree. A 3-month-old baby does not have that concept, oak tree. Do you think it is valuable to make that distinction?
A 1-month-old baby or a 3-month-old baby perceives non-conceptually. So it perceives hunger non-conceptually, it perceives mama's face non-conceptually, it perceives the wind non-conceptually, it perceives the bed sheets non-conceptually, it perceives the light through the window non-conceptually. At some point in time, the conceptual lingo is adopted. Okay, tree, mama, bed, oak tree, hunger, blah, blah, blah. So when you perceive an oak tree, there is the pure perception where there is, before even we say oak tree, is a perception. So just so we can communicate, I use the word the oak tree in the yard, but I'm not referring to an oak tree in the yard out there or the oakness of this oak tree. I'm referring to a perception. Perception, let's call it an oak tree, or let's not call it anything. A perception appears in the same place where a sensation arises. Don't even call the sensation hunger, or don't even call it sensation of your feet on the ground. Just the sensation appears in the same place and on equal footing than a perception. Would you agree?
I guess not. Because
Okay.
I don't understand what you mean by equal footing. That is, I think you've said that one of them is conceptual and one of them is not.
No,
No.
the concept, for example, of my feet on the ground, or the sensation is both a concept. In order to speak, we say a sensation, so referring to something, it's a concept. It's a concept, but the experience of the sensation is not a concept. So there is, for example, the concept moon, the moon. That's a concept. That's M-O-O-N. It's a word, an English word, in the English language. But the concept moon does not refer to the concept. It refers to the experience of the moon, the perception of the moon, or the image of the moon. It refers to an experience. Would you agree on that?
Yes, but once you say an experience of the moon, that's different. That's an interpretation. I can experience pain without the word. I would know I experience pain, but I look up in the sky, I see this bright light, and I would have to know that that's a moon. You understand my distinction there?
Yes. Let's say that we remove the concept moon and we remove the concept pain.
Okay.
What is your distinction now?
The distinction is, ouch, that hurts. Even though I don't have the word pain. Okay.
Yes.
I look at the moon, I have a visual perception.
Yes. And what's
those two are the same.
Yes.
My only point, maybe this is not worth. The only point is, once I label that visual perception of moon, I'm introducing a concept. I'm assuming there's something out there called moon, and I have no knowledge that there is anything out there called moon. I only know this perception I have, bright light in the sky.
But that is true of the pain. If you introduce a leg and you introduce an experiencer of pain, or if you introduce a leg and you introduce pain, you also have introduced a concept.
I have a concept if I have pain in the leg. In other words, that's a concept, that there's a leg and I experience pain in the leg. That's a concept. I don't see pain as itself as a concept.
Similarly with the moon, you don't see perception as a concept, but you perceive moon as a concept, but the perception is not a concept.
Right. Yes, the perception is not a concept. It's the
perception of whether you're perceiving the concept pain or the concept tree or the concept moon. The perception is not a concept. Perception is not a concept.
Perception is not a concept, correct.
So all appearances are perceptions.
Right.
Whether you call them oak tree or moon or a sensation of my feet on the ground, or a sensation and a perception and a thought, whether it's the moon, the oak tree, hunger, they are equal as perceptions.
Yes, I guess I'm getting too pedantic. The only distinction I'm making is when I say of the moon or in the leg. Those are all concepts which, like a 3-month-old baby wouldn't know the moon, wouldn't know its leg.
Yes, I agree.
It would know pain.
I agree on that. But the point I'm making is the following, that we have a tendency to say, okay, the pain in the leg, that's me, which is the perception of pain or the experience of pain, whatever word you want to use, is me, but the perception of the moon is not me.
No, I agree totally there. Yes.
So what I'm presenting is that both sensations and perceptions and thoughts appear within the same space of awareness, and they're equal as awareness, they're not equal conceptually. The concept of the ocean and the concept of fire or the concept of a galaxy are different concepts.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Yes, no, I agree. They all appear within awareness. So in that sense, there's no distinction, okay? My only distinction I was making is some of them involve concepts and some don't.
Yeah, but we do make a distinction between, okay, this is me, look at the hand, say, this is me, and the wall is not me.
Absolutely, I agree with you. We make that distinction, and I understand that. I'm with you.
That's an optional distinction.
I agree. Because
in our experience, our non-conceptual experience, before we say, this is me, my hand, and this wall is wall is not me, before we make these assumptions, before we make these definitions, before we make these choices, experientially, we're experiencing the perception of the wall and the perception of these hands equally.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I agree. Okay.
So from our experience, before we conceptualize me and not me, before we conceptualize, in our experience, awareness is seamless. The yes. I and not I is a afterthought, is a choice we make to somehow separate our experience into a subset of experiences is me, and the remaining set of experiences is not me.
Yes, yes. No, I agree that separation, that distinction is artificial, is mind-made. Yes.
Yes.
I totally agree. Yes.
And we feel this artificial distinction, and we live according to this distinction. We feel and we live this distinction.
Yes, we do. At least I do. Yes.
But I mean, now the body has an intelligence. The body knows how to navigate around the table, so you don't bump yourself in the you've done it when you were young. You learned, okay, wait a minute, it's better to sort of take a wider turn around this corner. That's a different thing. There is intelligence in the body that aims at the maintenance of the body, the survival of the body as much as possible, and the propagation of the species. So all that is built into the DNA, let's say. It doesn't. What I'm talking about is this additional artificial distinction, which is not based on experiential evidence. It's a choice.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Magdi. Yes.
Okay. Okay, George. Okay.
Hey, Maggie, quick question.
Hey, Frank. Yes, Frank.
Hey.
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, so yeah, along the same lines of what you're talking about here, because I've always had this question about perception as far as sensation goes. It seems to me like when I have a sensation, I, quote unquote, I guess that would mean consciousness feels a sensation. Hold on, let me rephrase that. So when I, as a body mind Frank, thinks he's having a sensation, the thought is that there's a sensation and there's a feeler of the sensation. So that would be like Frank is feeling a sensation. So if I put my hand on my leg, the old model was Frank is feeling a sensation. So there's like sensation. There's information going up to the brain, and then there's a Frank somewhere in there that says I'm feeling that sensation. And if it's pain, Frank feels pain. But it seems to me like, well, of course, that's very dualistic. So in terms of consciousness, I would guess that that's consciousness, just there being a sensation that's both being a sensation and being felt simultaneously within consciousness, and it's all consciousness both creating the sensation and feeling the creation, feeling the sensation. Am I on the right track there?
Yes, you are. There's an assumption that it is the body-mind which is experiencing a sensation. The body-mind is named Frank. Mom and dad, they love the name Frank, and they called this boy, the baby boy, they called the body-mind Frank. And so we sort of now refer to this body-mind as Frank. But it's not the body-mind that perceives. There's an assumption that it's the body-mind that perceives. The body-mind is a beautiful instrument via which there is perception. It is not the instrument which perceives. It's an important understanding that, yes, there is a body-mind. There is a body-mind via which there are the senses and via which I perceive. It is always I which perceives. Now, it's a good question. What is this I? I is whatever it is that right now is hearing these words. There is no need to define the I, to say, oh, well, it is a body, it is the brain, it is activities of the neurons, are firing. There is a reality right now. There is being right now. There is the amness right now, and this amness, this being, also perceives. It is. When we say being, we're not referring to anything specific. It's not something that is perceived. We can perceive a table, we perceive a tree, we perceive a brain, we can perceive galaxies, but we don't perceive the reality which perceives, nor can we deny it. We cannot deny perception, right? But we cannot perceive that which perceives. The eye cannot see itself. As a metaphor, it's not the eye which sees. The eye is an instrument. So there is perception, and is I, whatever that is, which perceives. So when we say, I perceive, we're referring to our direct experience that there is perception. So there is perception. When you're touching, you put your hand on the steering wheel, is a sensation. You can say sensation. So the sensation is appearing with an awareness. I perceive the sensation of the steering wheel, and I perceive the thought that says, for example, I'm going down to the market. I'm driving to the market. So you perceive that thought. So there are perceptions. Now, these perceptions appear within awareness, within whatever it is that perceives it, because there is perception. So there is a perceiver. It's not there is no perceiver. There is a perceiver, but the perception that the perceiver perceives is not out there. It's not out there. You're not like saying, well, wait a minute, there is. I'm getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Nope, I got it now. Yes, now I perceive the sensation of my hands on the steering wheel. No, it's not like that. It's instantaneous. You perceive. You're hearing these words. You're aware of the hearing. Okay, and you're hearing these words instantaneously. So, which leads us to understanding, at least being open to the understanding that there isn't a phenomenal reality out there that I am experiencing. In fact, I'm experiencing every moment myself as, for example, as this perception, as this conversation, as this sensation. Where does it arise from? Well, it can only arise from that which perceives it, because that which perceives it must be connected with that which is perceived, because if it's not connected to that which is perceived, it could not perceive it. So the perception, in fact, is connected to that which perceives it. The reality of the perception and the reality of that which perceives is one reality. So a question that arises, where does the perception arise from? Where does the world arise from? Where do thoughts arise from? They arise out of the reality, out of being. So being, meaning presence or reality, whatever word you want to use, is actually also manifesting from itself to itself as this conversation, as this sensation, as this perception. Now, being at the same time is stillness, is the peace, stillness, because there is no movement. It's not going somewhere. It's not like a boat has left New York, is heading towards San Francisco. Or heading towards Europe. It's not like that. It is already full. It's not lacking. It's not going anywhere. It's the one reality. There's one being. So in stillness, being is the peace. And in movement, that stillness is awareness, or you can call it creation, creativity, or you can call it experience. So
Magdi, I'm just so you know, I'm getting a little bit lost here, and it's not you, of course. I'm getting lost because so I'm trying to go by my experience, which is that I sometimes, like when I have a sensation in my body, which is we all have sensations all the time. I have sensations, and let's say I have a stomach ache, and I say to myself, okay, so there's a pain there, there's a sensation there, but there seems to be like a voice that comes in and says, I'm feeling this, and that voice doesn't seem to come from anywhere, any one thing, no entity. There's no entity there to
you are
sensation.
You are feeling it, but you as what? You are perceiving a sensation, but what is it that's perceiving the sensation? Where is the sensation arising? It's not arising.
So that's
it's not arising in your body. It is arising to you.
Because that would be very dualistic to have, I have a pain and then I'm feeling that pain. So that's two things. So it seems like that's where I get, and I think that's the mind trying to figure it out. And I realize that, but it's still a question that comes up often.
No, it's not necessarily dualistic. It's just a way of speaking. I'm feeling the pain, or I'm perceiving the pain. That's just a way of speaking. It's not dualistic. The pain is perceived, or actually sensation is perceived, and it depends. If it's a toothache, it's going to also trigger, I need to do something about it. It's calling you.
Can you talk about, when you say the word perceived, I sometimes get lost in that word. I don't know why. I know what perception is, but I get lost when you say perceived. It becomes like a blank. I don't know what it means. Like this perception. Okay, so seeing is a perception, hearing is a perception. The senses, I guess, are all perceptions. Is that right? All the senses, bodily senses, are perceptions. Seeing, hearing, feeling, right?
Yes, our experience is composed of perceptions, sensations, and thoughts. Yes. So when we say a thought, that means there is a perception. Or when we say a feeling or a sensation, we're referring to a perception.
And perception does not mean a subject object. Well, although it seems to.
Conceptually, we distinguish between a perceiver and a perceived, but experientially, there is no distinction. You cannot separate. You cannot separate the perceiver from the perceived. If you separate the perceiver from the perceived, then there is no perception. So you follow, when there is a perception, whenever there is a perception, the separation between a perceiver and the perceived is conceptual.
Okay, I think that's what I'm trying to get at. So that pain, when I have a sensation and there's a voice that says, I'm feeling that pain, that's the conceptual part that comes in. The thought comes in and conceptualizes it, where it's like a feeler and a felt at the same time, but it's being broken up into two by thought, by concept, conceptual.
Yes. Whenever there is a perception, the distinction between a perceiver and a perceived is conceptual, and doesn't mean that It's a mistake. It's just a conceptual distinction, which is fine. When the doctor says, walks into the waiting room and says, who is the one who called in with a toothache? You're gonna raise your hand. It's not gonna be, so it's not a problem that there is a conceptual distinction. But
I know, I get that.
Yeah. So in the presence of a perception, experientially, there is no distinction between the perceiver and the perceived. Now, but one point that is important to make here, which is an important parallel point, is that awareness does not need a perception. In other words, only whenever there is perception, awareness is active. But consciousness does not require awareness. In stillness, in presence, in being, awareness or consciousness is resting as itself. In activity, awareness is resting as itself and creating out of itself, to itself. The world, the body, the mind, infinite worlds, infinite bodies, infinite minds. So I just want to make a point that the reality of being isn't dependent on experience, or is not solely limited to phenomenal experience. So first, we know ourselves as the noumenal presence, as consciousness, in the absence of objects, in the absence of awareness, in the absence of creation, in the absence of perceptions. And then we know ourselves, the same piece of being, the same presence, in the presence of experience, so that so there is no longer a distinction between consciousness and its creation, because there are no distinctions. The distinctions are only artificial. In our experience, any distinction we make, and I'm not being judgmental about it, because some distinctions are very important. It's important to distinguish between fire and water. Oops, one moment. Oh, hello, sir. Yes, very well. Thank you very much. Sorry about this. I had to accept a package here.
Live TV.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, in terms of our phenomenal experience, the distinction between me and not me is an artificial distinction. Experientially, we don't actually experience a me and not me. Conceptually, we do.
Yeah.
And when I say conceptually, I also mean at the feeling level, because the body mind are interconnected. So it's important to relax this tendency to define a subset of your experience as me and another subset of your experience as not me.
Good. Thanks, Maggie. That's really very helpful.
Okay, Frank. Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Holger.
Yes, thank you, Magdi, for this amazing satsang. Thank you for your consistency. It makes such a difference to have this, like a momentum is created, and I experience a difference in myself, in my daily living. There is something it's lighter, it's easier. What's the difference between now being here in satsang with an elevated feeling, or not even a feeling, but just being present, and then later when I go back into my daily living, what's the difference?
Yeah. Fundamentally, there is none.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, we enjoy getting together with friends, chit-chatting, sharing laughter together. We enjoy listening to music, which is soothing. We enjoy going for walks in nature. So there are, of course, also, you know, we have to sometimes do some shopping and do the cooking, take the trash out, wash the dishes. In certain thoughts, like we, for example, listen and discuss politics, you know, my view, your view, my party, your party. You know, we like to connect, you know, but there's a difference between connecting around, you know, a light-hearted conversation and connecting around conversation about politics, you see. There are, you know, experiences in our life that refer to our true nature more easily, let's say, refer to our true nature than refer to the complexity of the world and the mind and the human sometimes chaotic way. But yes, in the essence, there is no difference. But we like some things we enjoy. We enjoy the sound of the birds, the song of the birds, the sunshine, and we somehow cringe a little bit when a coyote catches a rabbit. You know, yes, I mean, of course, it's part of the phenomenon around it. we don't enjoy it the same way that we enjoy watching the birds hopping from branch to branch. Or in terms of your question about meeting here, of course, meeting here is sort of like a one way of looking at it is soaking into our true nature, soaking into the peace, the causeless peace. And it, you know, when you soak in it, some of it is absorbed. Also, in below the radar way, there is also a deepening of our understanding, somehow the blooming of understanding, the unfolding of the understanding is accelerated by these sorts of questions and inquiries and contemplations. The body-mind slowly gets aligned. It's, you know, aligned with the cosmic order. And at some point we just get together because we enjoy, you know, being together, and we enjoy, there is a celebratory aspect to contemplation. There is a joyful aspect to contemplation. It's not so much about getting somewhere or getting it or getting enlightened. No. It's a very friendly, loving thing. And of course, I mean, we're doing it virtually. But if we're, for example, meeting in retreats or other setting, there would be also that other aspect of, you know, interacting and chit-chatting together and having meals together. So yes, there is a limitation to this particular virtual format. You know, it's
I don't see the limitation because I never experienced satsang in 3D. I mean, so, and I just experienced there's a difference before satsang and now. I can compare myself. And now it's much more calm.
Mm-hmm.
And
but think of playing with your daughter. You know, this 3D interaction with your daughter, where you're both happy, playful together. Mm-hmm. It's similar in that way. Yes, of course. You know, your love for your daughter, you can feel happy in just thinking of her and knowing that she's around and knowing that, you know, you're gonna see her soon. But then when you're playing with her, sometimes, you know, it's really great, you know. Yeah, but again, I mean, we have available to us living the understanding in our life, in interacting with whoever we're interacting with, sort of bringing our understanding, but that it's all me, that I and the universe are not separate, that this so-called other is my very self. In a way, that's experiential. That's also a satsang in the world.
Yes. Thank you, Magdi.
Being only, it's our natural way, our effortless way. It's already in us. We already are this oneness. It's not something we attain. It's more like when you notice that you're defending the ghost, or you're defending the imaginary me. I'm not talking about actual need to defend, in practice, but when there is a psychological defending, then to sort of take a look at that and not to go deeper into that direction.
Thank you, Magdi. It's precious.
Okay, okay. Okay. Thank you all. Lovely to see you, Chris, and Holger, and Frank, George, Holly, and Mark, and Tahita. Okay.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay.
Thanks, Magdi.